Hey, welcome back to the channel once again, my dear internet friends. In today's video, we are taking a look at sports photography and specifically my experience being as a media person in a professional sports environment. And that is something I was super excited about. Being there really overwhelmed me, and I'm going to discuss in this video what I learned and I'm going to talk about it. I hope I took some good photos for the first timer, but there was a lot of challenges, of course. It's not like any other photography genre. It's not like landscape photos, it's not like event photos, it's not like portraits or even wildlife. I have 10 years of experience shooting all those different genre of photography, but none of this nature. Sports photography is a different beast. And of course, there will be limited people joining my live stream as usual. I don't mind, but I want to get it out of my system. The adrenaline I had it for each match over there, because like once the moment is lost, you don't get back that moment in sports photography too. So it says no data here. If I look at this, it's like the YouTube dashboard where I can see how the live stream is going on. Below, I have the OBS Studio software, so I can check the quality of the stream. And on top, I have the what do I call this, slides. So let's switch to the slides, and I can talk more about it. All right, so I'm in that corner of the screen. So yeah, so that you can see the entire screen of slides. This is going to be slides plus I'm not going to demonstrate, like handhold you and demonstrate like what are the camera settings that you need to use, but I will be explaining about how I felt for a first timer and how you can prepare for your next time when you enter professional sports environment, and what you should do in the studio, what you shouldn't. Did I say studio? No. What you should do in the stadium, what you shouldn't do in the stadium, how to prepare yourself, the things you need to carry, the camera, whatever you're using today, is it capable of capturing certain shots? And we are going to dig deep into every nitty-gritty of the sports photography in this video. So let's start with what I learned in sports photography for the first time. All right, so let's go. All right, so let me give you a bit of context. So the context is like this is a Sony exclusive workshop, and there was a futsal match. It's not a football match; it's a futsal match organized by a lot of FA group or Football Association of Thailand. It's an international match, and this was a first qualifier event of the entire series, and we were given the media rights to participate in that photography stadium as a media person. So Sony have their media people, a lot of media people were there, and the workshop people were part of 10-member team joining the workshop, and like we get to take photos of professional players. Like this is a real match, professional match, and there's a lot of stake in it, and we are like 10 people, beginners to like medium level 3 people. Like you don't have to be beginner, you of course understand the exposure, you of course understand what you need to do in different scenarios, but how do you understand the sports photography without starting to take the sports seriously, right? So we were allowed by Sony to join their media team and take some photos. But before that, we had a bit of workshop session where the coach, he explained to us what are the things to do, what are the things we shouldn't do. He gave a detailed list. We will cover everything in this video. And that's the most important part. If you fail to pay attention to them, it's going to be very challenging at the spot. So I will explain everything in detail. Now, the coach or the trainer for this event is Mr. Ampol, or I can call him as Tom. His nickname is Tom, so I will be referring to him as Tom from now. So we will move on to the next slide and see what is my gear. Right, so this is nowhere close to a professional photography gear. I mean, Of course, it's a professional photography gear, but it's not sports photography worth. Like, for example, if I'm carrying something like A7 IV or even like A7, A9, A9 is a sports photography camera. Even A6700 could be considered in a very vague way as a sports camera, but A7CR is like a landscape camera, landscape, portrait, and probably maybe even photography, but it's definitely not sports. And Sony A7C2, excuse me, it's definitely close to, like, barely touch the mark of sports. Like, you can take sports photos, but it doesn't consider it is never considered as a sports photography camera. But the lens that I was having is the 70 to 200 millimeter f2.8 G Master 2 lens. It's absolutely a fantastic sports photography lens, and it's amazingly fast in autofocusing. The micro contrast is exceptional. The ghosting is well controlled, and it's just like fantastic. Okay, you have like controls, all the controls you need for the lens at your fingertips. So you just need to have a bit of practice to use this lens in a professional environment. Zooming in, zooming out, all those things are extremely important because the players are like moving front and back to you. Like, you have to be absolutely focused on where the player is relative to your camera and lens. Right, so we'll move on to the next one. This is the agenda. Basically, we had a 1 hour long workshop classroom session where I will discuss a lot more about it in the future slides, but it's a overview of what we are basically going to do in this entire workshop session, and also what we have to do at the sports event. Now, each match, there were two matches in that day. Each match have their own warm-up session. So the players get to play for like 30 minutes, just pass around the ball, just try to shoot in the goal, and just practice themselves, warm up, and get ready for the main match. So, and also there's a break in between both the matches. All right, so this is the basic agenda of the day. Now, I want you to also pay attention to all the photos that I'm showing here. These photos are mostly 99% are from the same match because I did not pay attention to the other match. I will explain the details in the in the upcoming slides, but I want you to pay attention and see like how well you like these photos. All right, so that's also another something very important. I see some drop frames here, but anyway, we will keep going. So, what is the difference between the sports photography versus the rest of the genre, right? First of all, as a photographer, you have certain rules that you need to follow. All right, I'll explain the rules in a bit. Now, secondly, the sports photographer, what are the key moments in that sports? Like, for example, swimming, right? Swimming is a sport. What are the key moments in swimming? You have to understand, like, you have to have a mental note. Okay, so I'm gonna take a photo of the guy right when he's coming out of the water, and probably right when he's pitching the surface of the water, right? So there are so many key moments that you can think of in swimming. Likewise, each and every sport have their own key moments. So you have to understand the game. Photographer's sitting spot. All right. So this is something I know for the very first time in my life when I went there to that event. So in the game, photographers are allowed to sit in a very designated spot near the goalpost, like either side of the goalpost. And you should be sitting all the time. You should not be like standing, and you don't get excited and you don't shoot, right? You have to be sitting. You can carry whatever you want, like your tripod, even your camera bag. You can lug that around with you, and you should be stationary with all your gear, and you have to be like taking photos right from where you are. You don't get to stand sometimes, rarely, like you have some fatigue. Yeah, you can stand momentarily, but you're not allowed to move from that spot. You will be allowed to move, and I will explain that part. I will explain when you're allowed to move around the field and certain things, right? Now, the time period. So this is like very time constraint. You have to be mindful of what's going on in the clock. So let's say you're in this specific game, right? So this isn't like 45 minutes each time like football. This is like 20, 25 minutes, something like that, like much smaller. You see, I don't even remember how long each half session is. So the total match itself is like 1 hour long, and probably they are playing for like 25 minutes and then break and 25 minutes, something like that. So you have to be mindful, because if you miss a moment, let's say there's one goal, and if you fail to notice that time is like very close to the end of the game, and if you miss the shot, you don't get to be careful again. So you need to be like absolutely paying attention to the time. Right, so we are coming to the rules of photographers, right? So rules for photographers, you need to follow this, like you have to embed these things in your brain. So first of all, you will be given an ID card that you need to carry. This ID card will contain your photo, your name, and what is your role. So photographers will have a separate ID card from videographers and probably some other media people. So each person will have their own designated ID card with what is their role in the stadium, right? So they're very absolutely strict about it. And that one should be like showing your face to others at all times, no excuse. Number two is sit only in the designated spots. Changing the spot is allowed during the halftime. So when the game isn't like during the halftime, you can go around the field, you can change spots. Let's say you're in one side of the game and the players are not shooting in this goal post because probably one team is playing very well than the other team. So all the players are in that side of the court. So you don't just get to go to that side of the court and shoot the players where they're playing. You have to wait until the halftime to go to the other side of the goalpost so that you don't distract the players. And they are absolutely strict about that too. If they find out that you're moving, they will call you later and you will be banned from that location. That's that's the extent they can go. All right. So they're very strict about it. Now, don't distract the athletes, right? So do whatever you want, but don't distract the athletes. I sat with a professional photographer for like one full match, and he was like super quiet. I'll give you an example of what are the things he did at the same time, and everything was like so inconspicuous. So he was like super well prepared. First, he takes a photo. He anticipates when the person is coming. He takes a photo. He immediately transfers the files into the app on his iPad. And then immediately that photo is edited. Like he fixes the composition, probably some brightness and contrast. He sends that photo to a line group where his media team will post that in the news right away. And that's fantastic. All this happens in like less than 10 seconds. That's awesome. So he does all these things without anybody noticing and doing that. So that's the level of professional behavior you have to develop over time in that situation. All right. So next, do not film or photograph using smartphones. This is a very big deal. Okay. You go in there as a photographer, right? You have it in your ID card. It says you're a photographer. Now you're taking your phone camera and you're like filming everywhere. Hey, I am, I'm like, yeah, I'm at this location. I want to talk to my girlfriend. I'm going to show that I'm in a professional environment. So I'm just filming a bit of the game. No, you're not allowed. You're not allowed to use your phone for whatever reason to film or photograph the match, like when you're at the photographer's area, right? So never, don't even think of taking out your smartphones and lift it up like this. Don't. You can probably play with it, just down, but you're not allowed to lift it up. I mean, if you're lifting it up, they will think that you're probably filming or photographing. Now, do not ask for any goodies from all the team players, right? So, um, on the longest side of the stadium, there will be like both the teams sitting on the one side, and on the other side there will be a lot of how to say, the referee, the commentator, and all those people will be sitting. So there will be a lot of free players, like players who are not playing in the game. They'll be sitting there, so you can't just go to them and ask for t-shirts or goodies or autograph, nothing. You have a designated spot and you just sit there and photograph. You came here to do a job, you do that. That's it. Okay. So those are like strict, very strict rules, not just here, in any professional environment. So always remember those. And yeah, remember the rules. Like all these things should be etched in our brain. Save yourself from incoming balls. Like, of course, there are a lot of dangers, right? So you're at the field, the ball will be coming towards you. There will be some safety net, but you need to be like very careful. Protect your gear and yourself, right? These are very high-paced balls. Now, you have certain goals, right? So that's about the rules. But as a photographer, you need to have certain things that you want to achieve throughout the game, right? So first of all, there, let's say the swimmer, if he's finishing, I'm just taking a swimming example because okay, that's a totally different sport that involves different goals, and this futsal is a totally different game and it involves different goals. So when a swimmer finishes the finish line, probably he does something. He reacts for the surprise of him winning the game. So you take those kind of photos, right? So that's the picture of the goal. So picture of the finishing the game, right? And post finishing it, like what is the celebration they're doing. Then football fans, like whenever something happens, right, they'll be like so excited, so cheering for the team. Just take the photos of ambience, every player on the field. So it's a team game, right? It's not like a solo game. So there will be like a lot of players in the defense, offense, and sometimes, you just need to take photos of these players individually in the field. And if you get them like alone in the stadium, take that, all right? While playing. I'm not talking about somewhere he's going to the bathroom, washroom, or doing something else. You don't get to use them in the media. So whenever he's in the field, in the court, take him solo, and that those pictures will be very useful for media people whenever they are doing some interviews or whatever. They can even buy those photos. So those are very important. Football, every each player on the field, take one photo of each player in some important moments, cover them, cover everybody, important moments of the game. So every game have their own moments, so understand what are the important moments of each game and try to remember like when it is going to happen, right? So in futsal, mostly the ball will be passed from that corner to this corner, and there will be always somebody who takes the ball and try to push it to the striker. The striker will take the ball and try to put the goal. Now, this is the sequence of things that happened again and again and again, and it took some time for me to understand, okay, this is how the game is. But each team plays in a different way, right? So you have to understand the game tempo, the player's tempo, and the overall understanding of the game as well. So each of these moments should be like in your brain so that you can anticipate like when certain things are going to happen. Sports portraits. So whenever you find somebody, right? So covering each person is different, and each person portrait should also be taken. So that's also something important, candid of each player. So of course, like if you're in the situation, you will probably figure this out, but don't forget, right? So these are the goals that you need to remember. Here, coming to the camera gear, autofocus guide. There was something that this was something I missed. I really missed initially because I am very used to use the AF area zone mode. And in the zone, I pretty much, put the subject and probably recompose, and I usually get the proper picture with just the zone AF. But for sports and wildlife, this one tracking autofocus is extremely extremely useful. And I will tell you like how good the Sony autofocus is in this video. I will just explain it in a very good way. So just wait for it. Here, three things that are like very important is that autofocus continuous, obviously. That's a basic one. And tracking is important. Now the custom key, yeah, you can set it, you don't set it. Like my camera had so much limitation. It's got like limited set of keys and dials, and that it doesn't even have joysticks. So I am very limited in setting the custom key. So yeah, it's okay if you don't set it. Subject recognition in AF, it's important, right? So it has to understand you're shooting a human. And if you set it that way instead of auto, Like for example, in my camera A7C2 or A7CR, I can set it to auto subject recognition. So it will understand that, okay, now it's a human, now it's a bird, now it's a ball, like that. But if you set it to shoot only humans, it will be a bit faster. So your frames per second will also like, be much faster instead of like it trying to think a lot and then trying to understand it's a human and then like try to shoot. So the frames per second reduces. So this recognition should be on. And but if you're focusing on the ball, you don't have to turn these two on. So subject recognition and face detection. If these two things are specific to humans, then you can turn them on. But if you're focusing on the ball, you can turn both of these things off, right? So that's why you probably have to set it in the custom key so that both of these things are off or on at your desired time. Using the cameras like A1 Mark II or A9 III, those cameras, they have this front button just beside the mounting point where you can press it and it can, turn on or off, turn these settings on or off automatically. Like press hold to turn it off and then like leave it and it's back on. So it's so convenient to use those cameras with more buttons. But yeah, A7C2 and A7CR doesn't have them. Recommendations, right? So regardless of the cameras you use, I'm going to start with full frame camera for this specific sport. This is football, but any fast paced game, right? So if I'm able to freeze a frame in this game, this is already like a very fast paced game. Like people keep turning all the time, and so it's really fast. So 1/6000th of a second is already like super fast. So I had to limit my shutter to like 1/1000th of a second, which is already okay. You don't need to go any faster than that, even though the game is already very fast. So I find that 1/6000th of a second is not necessary. I made a lot of mistake. I'll go through every one of them in a bit, but this are all the recommendations provided by the pro photographer, which I'm sharing with you. So just make a mental note of these things, right? Aperture, he recommended from f2.8 or f4. I think f2.8 should be the norm because if you're using a lens like 135 f1.8 or f1.4, they're like very fast, right? They can be used in indoor sports condition because you get more light and less noise, but sometimes you don't get the full body that you want, right? So for those times, you probably want to use f2.8 for those lenses. But the lens that I'm using here, this is what I used over there. Oh, you don't get to see. Okay, here. You can see here. So this is A7CR with 72 200 millimeter f2.8 G Master 2 lens, and this one can go only up to 2.8. So yeah, I can use that happily. ISO. So if you're using a very fast shutter speed like 1/1600th of a second, your ISO need to be bumped up to 6400, and still it will be very dark if you see through the viewfinder or even the display. So it's not worth it. Like you get a lot of noise and you get, oh, it's a benefit with like two stops more of shutter speed, right? So yeah, stick with 1/1000th of a second and lower ISO, it's fine. You can always bring up the exposure in the post, like using Lightroom. Regarding the lens, right, depending on the game, for this game, I thought 70 to 200 was more than sufficient because the court, the stadium was so small. I thought I could reach the player in the opposite side of the goalpost, but it was not enough. The guy who was sitting beside me, the professional photographer, he was using like 400 millimeter f2.8, and yeah, he was able to get those beautiful shots with some very good subject separation, even if the guy is standing close to the podium where all the audience were sitting. That's fantastic. So for this specific game, he was using 50 to 150 millimeter f2 lens and 400 millimeter f2.8, and that I think is perfect for this game. For any other game, maybe it depends, right? All right. So things that are recommended specifically for futsal, right? Remember the exposure. Yeah, of course. any photographer will remember the exposure triangle, but carry the necessary equipment, right? So I gave the necessary equipment over here. So try to think about it, right? And yeah, always remember to follow the rules. Of course, the challenges are more important. So the game is fast and it changes direction frequently. Like people keep moving left and right and turns and twists. And you see, one thing I want to mention here in this futsal game, right? Look at all their faces. It's always facing down. Their faces are always facing down. If they're facing down, how can you get a good photo of their face, right? It's the light is lower than what is required. Their face is like full of shadows, and you don't get some good photos, and you don't get to use flash in these photos. So you have to have your exposure, you have to have your whatever the picture profile you're using accurate to the kind of game that you're filming. So here, luckily, the flooring is very reflective. So I was able to get some light on the player's face. So it's okay. But what if you're playing, I mean, what if the players are in a very sandy or non-reflective environment, right? That's a different story. So what professional photographers do is like they go lower than the eye level so that they get to get a bit more light from whatever else is reflecting towards them instead of being at the eye level, which I was there. So I was at the eye level, which casted a lot of shadows, but going less than the eye level will give you more light on their face. And so that's something I missed, but I noticed what the pros are doing, so I'm sharing it with you guys. Right. So, yeah, it's again the same thing. Which one is better, JPEG or RAW? Right. So I know I used to follow Fronos Photo. He's a guy who shoots RAW all the time, and he recommends people to shoot RAW all the time. But this guy, the guy I was trained with in this event, this is his Facebook profile, and I really have to show you this, guys. So this is his Facebook profile, and look at some of his photos, right? These kind of photos are JPEGs. He has never shot any raw images in a long time, right? In 4 or 5 years, he has not shot one raw photo. All these are JPEGs. All these are JPEGs. So after looking at all these JPEG photos, I decided for this specific sport, or whenever I'm shooting sport with the cameras like A7C2 or A7CR, I'm going to stick with JPEGs and not raw files. These are like JPEGs. Can you believe there's like absolutely zero noise? He has the in-camera noise reduction turned on to normal, and that's it. He doesn't use any sort of other noise reduction software in the post. So I was surprised by how well you can use JPEGs in this sports environment. I shoot raw guy, the Fronos photo guy, he's able to shoot raw all the time because he has such an equipment that can clear the buffer so fast. It can write to the buffer, write to the memory card so fast, and each of his files doesn't require so much of the camera power that it hinders the performance of the camera. So for example, he uses something like Z8, Z9, sometimes R5.2, sometimes A1, A9, all these guys write to their CF Express type A or B cards very, very fast, and they clear the buffer instantly. Compare that with my A7C2 or A7CR. They are like dead slow. They take a long time. I tried shooting RAW plus JPEG and I failed miserably. So there's this practice bout, right? I will come back to that. I will explain in detail on this topic as well. So uh, if your gear allows you to shoot raw and JPEG, over time definitely you can shoot raw and you can manipulate however you want, and then you can publish it again. But at a very fast paced time constrained conditions, like I said in the earlier time, this guy has to take photo and instantly uploads it into the media, so he has no time at all. So for him, JPEG is like absolutely enough. He doesn't need raw photos. So depending on what you need or what equipment you have, you can choose either of these, but I prefer to use JPEG. And look at this. I did not use any noise suppression in the post. It's like naturally JPEG, it's like ISO 1200. No, not 1200, 3200 or something. It's still noise free, and I'm really surprised. I will give you more context on when I started to use them. This, on the other hand, is like completely processed in the post. I used a bunch of noise suppression. Like I increased the noise levels, the luminous, luminosity noise to the max. All right. So I use a lot of noise reduction in this, and it's a mess. Okay. Nothing is sharp in this picture. So it's a bloody mess. And this is during the first match. And this is like, I did not set my camera properly during the warm up session. So this is the result of it. So I want to explain the importance of the warm up session. Every match will start with a warm up session, like 30 minutes for the players to warm up. And that's the time photographers need to use, especially if you're a beginner photographer. You use the time to see how is your camera behaving for the players, set the white balance, set the autofocus, check the tracking, how it works on your camera, and whatnot, right? Like you can experiment a lot during that practice session, and you can delete all those files if nothing is good. And people will be shooting, people will be passing the ball, people will be trying to shoot into the goal. The goalkeeper will try to, you know, take the ball, and he will try to block the ball from going inside the goal post, right? So when they are warming up, it's an opportunity for the photographers to warm up your camera, warm up your skill, and you can try to remember what are the things that you want to capture and think about it. So make use of the warm up time. And yeah, during the first match, I of course did not know anything. Like taking the theory completely into the practical situation, I did not know a lot of things. So I went blank in my mind, as if like I'm trying to take a photo of the wildlife, some creature, right? If there is a fast moving creature, probably, I can think of, okay, so this is the exposure, the photo is properly exposed. Now I'm thinking about the white balance. Okay, it's warm enough. Yeah, good. I like warm photos. Now I'm thinking about the tracking. I thought, okay, this is like regular people with faces. So I turned on the face detection, I turned on the human subject recognition, and I just went there, used the zone focus to take photos, and I failed miserably. I did not know until the end of the first game that tracking does a better job here. I will explain that during the match session, but yeah, make use of the warm up session. It's very important, right? So now is the time to talk about the story. All right. So during the first game, I will show you my Lightroom. That's much better. So during the live stream, during the first match, what happened is, okay, the first match is between Bahrain and I think Korea. Yeah, Korea won the match. So Bahrain and Korea, look at all these photos, right? So this is during the first match, and all these photos are like gone, 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 gone. Like around 2,000 photos. Okay, yeah, until here, until this part, right? 1,277 photos are all garbage during the first match. Why? Because I'll give you some random example. I can click on any photo, and you can immediately see like nothing is sharp in this photo, right? So here I'm increasing the exposure. Where is the sharpness? You can see that people are in focus, but where is the sharpness? Everything is a mess. It's a blurry, blurry mess. And it's a G Master 2 lens, 7200 f2.8, amazingly sharp G Master 2 lens. How did I manage to get such soft images for the entire match? God only knows, right? So that's what I'm saying. It's absolutely bad experience for me to have shot everything. No, I will bring this up again. So here the ISO is 1600. Okay, the ISO is not bad. and the shutter speed is like 1,000th of a second. So the shutter speed is not bad. Then where's the problem? Shutter speed is okay. The ISO is okay. I have normal noise reduction turned on in the camera. Then where is the problem? Can anyone guess? Right? Then where's the problem? The problem is me s- whipping the camera left and right, like, whoo, 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 and taking photos. I shouldn't do that. If you create motion on the camera while the motion is already happening, you don't get sharp photos unless you're following the motion of the subject, right? But these are erratic movements of the player. And if you're not following the motion of the player and you're just whipping the camera left and right, you don't get sharp photos. And the entire match, I did not know that thing, right? So it was like absolute mess, garbage everywhere. 1,200 photos, none of them are sharp. It was such a mistake. But here, in all the photos I have shown you so far, except the Bahrain, this is the Bahrain match. All the photos I have shown so far, all these are sharp. All these are sharp. Like these are sharper because this is the second match. And I refined myself in taking photos in a different way after the review of the professional photographer. He reviewed my photos and he said, "Hey, how are your photos?" I'm like, You remember there's a break session between both the matches?" He asked me like, "Hey, how is your photo? Did you learn anything?" I'm like, "Yeah, maybe you have to probably take a look at my photos." And he saw my photos and he's like, "What?" He squinted his eyes and he's like, "Man, how can you take bad photos with such a good equipment?" I said, "Probably the 10 frames per second is not enough. I just have A7C2 and I take JPEG photos. Probably noise reduction, probably this, probably that." And he said, "No, none of those, none of the above." So he told me a lot of cool tricks that I can follow in the next few slides. So gonna explain to you everything. And that really helped, elevated my photography, sports photography, and all the photos are exceptional. All right. So, first of all, number one is patience. I need to be like absolutely patient for the action, right? So, even though you know the game very well, even though you can anticipate what's happening, right? So, you have to be absolutely patient, trying to find that time, the moment when the action happens. And if you think the action is going to happen, just click the shutter button, probably for less than a second, so it captures like 4 to 5 photos. No, 3 to 4 photos max. I said 4 to 5 photos. He said no, three, not more than 3 photos at a time in one burst. So uh yeah, try to follow that. So that's going to minimize you filling up your buffer, filling up your card, and it gives you an option to, like, go to the camera back in the play view, and you can select the best among the three and you can delete the others instantly, so you don't fill up your card. I mean, what if you fill up the card, right? Doesn't matter. But if you don't fill up your card, it's better for you. So patience is number one. Wait, 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 and wait. You probably misclicked or something, it's fine, but waiting is a very good game. Now, AF mode, right? So, I had, like I said, I had everything on, but how the tracking works is so different. You see, this specific shot, there are so many people in the foreground, but the camera captured the guy I was tracking with the ball in the bottom, and that's something I find it fantastic. So this cannot happen in the zone focusing mode. It probably will be trying to decide between, like, hey, who should I focus, right? So it will be thinking a lot, but the tracking really helped. So what happens during the tracking is, actually, let's say you're putting the box on a specific player and you just hit the shutter halfway. What happens is, like, the camera will start to first identify what it is. So it identifies the person. Now it will identify the face, and it right away goes to the player's eyes and start to track the eye, and not the player, not the ball. It starts to track the eye of the player I'm tracking, and that's fantastic. All right, that's like amazing. So that's something I find magic when it comes to the Sony autofocus, and it happened time and again during the entire second match, and I was so happy with the results. So tracking is magic. So yeah, go ahead, use the face detection, eye autofocus, whatever, and turn on the subject recognition. It's so magical how it does things. So if there are a lot of people, you probably you can, you can even register the faces. So if there are many opponent players there in the team, but you want to focus on a specific team player, then you click on that. I mean, you can register his face so that it focuses on him, gives priority for him. Yeah. All right. Creative looks, right? So, we have different profiles for JPEG, but the one I think that is like readily postable is this settings. So you can go to the creative looks, you can change the standard or whatever else to this one, and the colors are so poppy. You can like immediately post these photos in the media. You don't have to do much of editing. Like you probably want to bring the saturation down or something, you will not be pushed to that level. So this is, I think, is like perfect setting for publishing the photos right away into the media. So it's fantastic. I will zoom in a bit. Yeah. Right. So this is like the coolest creative look that I find. This is also recommended by the professional photographer. What about the shutter speed? Yeah. So if you look at my photos, we'll go back to the photos again. If you look at my photos, the first few photos that I started to shoot are like 1600 probably. Yeah, 1600. So all these are like shot at 1600, and it wasn't enough. I mean, it was like too much. So it doesn't have to be like 1600. 1000 is more than enough, more than sufficient to freeze a frame like this. There is no like shadows behind the player. It's like everything is perfectly focused, and everything is great. So to freeze this frame, nothing more than 1000th of a second is required. But again, it depends on the game and situation. Like if there's a game where people are moving faster than this, probably you need a faster shutter speed. But for this is more than enough. If you're shooting hummingbird, if you're shooting hummingbird, 1/8000th of a second is still not enough to freeze the entire wing. So that's a different story. But here it's more than sufficient. Right? Frames per second for my question. Hey, my camera is just A7C2 and it can only shoot 10 frames per second. So what do I do? He said, look at that guy. There was another professional guy, a professional photographer. He was using D850, Nikon D850, that without the grip, it doesn't shoot more than 8 frames per second. With the grip, it shoots 10 frames per second. And he was using 8 frames per second. He's a professional photographer. He's publishing for his newspaper or some social media platform. And, you know, 10 is more than 8. So deal with it. So, yeah, what is important is not the frames per second, but the moment you're hitting the button. And that three shots I talked about, yeah, that's absolutely important when you're pressing the button. So this is enough. Okay, 10 is enough, sufficient, but more is better. So let me also tell the other way, other side of the equation. Now, you have a camera like A1 Mark II or A9 III, those guys have pre-shutter shots. So if you have those kind of cameras, what you can do is you can turn on the pre-shutter, you can click instantly, like 30 frames are recorded, like, and then like 10 frames are done, and you already have like 10 frames before you realize the action happened. So of course you recorded the entire action as well. So you already have those shots with you. You can select the right shot and then you can publish them. So it's like absolute blessing to have the pre-shutter in your camera. But if you don't, then it's still enough. Then it's still enough. I hope so. Okay, so the composition. You can see the previous picture. Here the head is gone. Here the head and legs are gone. So of course the composition is important. Give some headroom on the top, give some leg room on the bottom. So you have some leeway to cut and edit and recompose in the post. So those are important. Then straight lines. If you're in a sports environment and if you're using a monopod, you don't probably go left and right. So probably you're okay with the straight lines. But if you're hand holding the entire camera for like 1.5 hour period or 1 hour period, you will have fatigue on both of your arms, and what will happen is you will tend to tilt left and right. And keep in mind that every time you compose, you always have to look at the background and then the foreground and make sure you have everything composed properly. Players here, especially here, they're coming towards me. So I'll have to zoom out as well. At the same time, I'm looking at, composing the image. So you have to be like, everything should be in the fingertips. Yeah. It's like playing a music instrument. Yeah. Right. So eye level shots, I think lower than eye level shots are better. Like lower up, bottom up shots are a bit better than eye level shots. So for this game specifically, I think that's great. Now, do you remember the goals? So we discussed the goals of each game earlier. So if you don't remember the goals, go back and try to understand what are your goals, write it down, remember it, and try to achieve it throughout the game. So 10 photos. If there are like 20 people in the stadium, you probably have to have like 30 photos, like 20 people each one of them, and 10 moment photos, like that's the moment kind of photos. So you need to have those in mind and try to achieve that, right? 30 photos is more than sufficient for these kind of games, not more than 30 photos, right? So I shot like 2000 photos, absolute garbage for both the games. 2000 photos is garbage, even though I was conservative in the second game, but I still got like 800 photos. Yeah, that's bad. Okay, that's bad. So play safe, not more than 30 photos. If you want to be like playing safe and taking more photos, try not to go beyond like 200 photos. Okay, that's I think that's the safest number for any game at all. This is something. This is something a very good thing that this pro photographer told me. Okay, so every game have their own stars, regardless of which team it is. So if you are playing against a specific team, or if you're covering a specific team, what happens here is like you should understand who is your star, and you try to follow the star, because star player is a guy who plays better than most people, and he is most likely to put goals, and you get some good moments, and you get to take good photos. But what if you are positioned in a different, non-desirable position, right? So let's say you want to cover the Thailand team, and you're sitting in the Thailand side of the game. It's absolutely wrong, because Thailand team doesn't goal in the Thailand side of the stadium. So you have to position yourself in the opposite side, where the Thailand team will be trying to shoot the goals. That's how you need to position yourself between either side of the game. So that's something you have to be very cautious about. All right, so more tips. How long has it been? How long has it been? Okay, not bad. 48 minutes of me continuously talking. Right, thank you for sitting throughout, whoever is listening this. Anyway, um yeah, more tips on this topic, right? So white balance. This white balance is okay-ish. It's not the most desirable white balance, I would say. But I failed to have a proper white balance in the beginning of the game. It would be horrible for me to show you. But anyway, I'm talking about all the mistakes I did throughout the game, so why not, right? So if I open this one, right? Look at how yellow they are. This is the kind of white balance I had initially. It's absolute garbage. Everybody is yellow. The floor is yellow. The players are yellow, and with a lot of green tint. It's bad. All right. So later, the professional photographer looked at, he looked at my thing, my screen, and he's like, "Man, you have to change the white balance." And later he changed it to this one. Look at the white balance now. It's so much better. All right. So remember to set the white balance when during the warm up session. Yeah. So always remember to probably carry what is that? The gray card, the middle gray card with you. Probably you can use that to set the white balance depending on the situation. It's so helpful. If you don't know how to set it, I can make a video on that later. But yeah, for now this is enough. I just saw my logo is right on my face in the live stream. I'm sorry. Anyway, so what about the optical steady shot, right? On the lens, there are like three options for this specific lens, and what about the others, right? So it can be anything, right? It doesn't matter anything. Like it can be one, two, or three. So I think one is general, two is for like side by side, three is for like more erratic kind of. I don't remember anything, but it can be anything. I use two most of the time, so it was okay. Now, for the panning slow shutter shots, right? So let me show you an example here. There are a lot of examples which I never was able to do, but this professional photographer, he likes to do it. And I mean, it's so artistic, right? So look at this. These are like panning slow shutter shots. There are a lot of good ones. There are a lot of bad ones, of course, right? So let me try to find a good one. Look at all these ambient photos, right? Like all the audience are like praising the theme and all. It's all good. Okay, it's mostly these people. Anyway, so for those kind of photos, you don't press the button and then pan. You pan and press the button, shutter button while panning, and that's gonna give you some really good photos. Like you have to pan in the same direction as the subject moves, otherwise you get some really weird photos. Anyway, that's some trick that I want to tell you. And this is one of the ambient shot that I got, which is like so bright, super bright. And this is something I got. I got a lot of videos of people cheering for the team, but most of the time, it's okay. Overall, I got like 10 photos, not even 10 photos, like probably 7 photos that are good. But I'm really happy with the experience I had during this sports photography event. I learned a lot, from the autofocus, from the white balance, the etiquette, and a lot of things, right? It was a learning curve for me, and I enjoyed being there. And there are some set rules here and there, but you need to follow them, right? You need to make this more professional. You are put into a professional environment, and they expect you to return the courtesy, right? So you need to be like absolutely behaving yourself. And towards the end, I understood that it's not a sports photography thing. It's not a genre. It's photojournalism. It's like you are a journalist trying to cover what's happening there at the venue. Like there's a match, and there are like a lot of important moments in the match. You're covering it. You're telling a story by the end of the day. What exactly happened through your photos, and that is the most important part of sports photography. You have to think yourself as a photojournalist, and then you have to understand your responsibilities telling the story. All right, so try to think about it in that way. Now, it's a yeah, it's a long journey for someone who's starting out, so it is achievable, but you need a lot of practice. Try to, be the media person in a professional environment, and try to follow the set rules and try to achieve the goals of whatever you set yourself. The goals that I gave you to what are the things to shoot during the game, it's not fixed. Okay, you can set your own goals and then work towards it during every single game, right? So yeah, try. I mean, life is like full of hits and misses. So yeah, start hitting so that if it misses, you keep hitting. That's it. Anyway, thank you for sticking around. Thank you for sticking around this live stream, and thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in, and see you again in the next video and next live stream. Peace. If anything, like, before that, please follow us, like, subscribe to the channel, and show some support for the channel. And I'm glad. I mean, I appreciate you showing your support by at least watching this video. But yeah, it's important for us. We are like slowly, dead slow growing channel, and we would need as much support as possible. So thank you again, and have a great day. If anything, let me know in the comments down below. Yeah, we will chat again. Peace.